artist who can't sing versus artist who can sing.
Can't remember how to say your name, let alone count all the freckles on your...
Used to shop at all D's.
Hello, music lovers. My name is Carter, and welcome back to Recording Records. I always want my content to be in some way kind of educational, or at least has the grounds to be educational. It's not always the most, there's a balance of also being entertaining, which I try to do. And I try to balance both being entertaining and educational. I want to inspire an artist or someone inspiring to be a critic or an artist or a producer, a label director, a scout, whatever it might be, to understand, help them understand what makes music. And usually that goes through stuff like talking about an album or talking about specific songs on an album. But this is a different part of that same umbrella or that same frame of logic that comes from a bit of a different lens. Today, we're going to be talking about being an artist or being a public figure and how to create perception around you. And in this case, how to destroy perception around you and really screw up your public relation. And so this video is a bit of a different branch from my other content, but a branch within sort of the goal of this channel. Now, before I start, I will be talking about, obviously, as the title suggests, the Baebadoobee incident, I guess you'd call it. She does use a lot of profanity. I try to make my content accessible to both young children and adults. This is one that might not be a bit accessible to some young children because of words that she uses. So if you're a young child, I suggest clicking off the video. But I guess we can go in and get into the topic at hand. If you weren't following social media as of like the last, I guess, 2 weeks ago, I guess it would have happened, you wouldn't know this, but Baebadoobee, Filipino British pop girl, kind of like an indie bedroom pop aesthetic to her music, made a TikTok story that she then deleted, where she was replying to this meme that's been going around. This meme kind of dated around January and then started falling off through February. And the meme basically goes like this. It takes an artist who can clearly sing, which is Baebadoobee, and it's her doing a cover, or not cover, it's actually her premiering her song, The Way Things Go. She's playing on guitar, I think, on TikTok. And it takes her clearly able to sing. She's a great singer, a very talented artist, and an artist I like a lot. I'd actually enjoy going to one of her concerts or something. I'd probably buy concert tickets for her. I actually like her music. She's clearly singing really well, a good song of hers, one of her best. And then it says artists who can't sing versus artists who can sing. And it's some artists who the meme creator thinks can't sing. Most prominently, it's usually NBA YoungBoy. A lot of times also there's over-the-top edits done to the person. They'll have laser eyes, or they'll have Beethoven, an opera version of a Beethoven symphony. This is sort of like what the meme is. It's obviously ironic and over the top, and the joke is how over the top it is, and it's sort of made it's sort of made off of the irony of saying Baebadoobee can't sing and the other artist can sing, when it's clear that Baebadoobee is a very, very talented singer. And so this meme kind of blew up for a while. It began to dwindle down, but the meme didn't just stay within the videos that existed. The meme also transcended into comment sections like Baebadoobee's posts, where she would post a photo and people would be like, artists who can't sing. It's a way, I guess, of social participation within a meme to sort of get likes, get laughs, and participation with something that they find funny. And, it kind of did, to some extent, start to flood some of her comment sections. That being said, the meme did, again, start to dwindle down. It was starting to die off. That was until Baebadoobee decided to respond to it. Now, before we get into a response, which garnered a lot of internet traction for just how terrible it was, made a lot of people dislike Baebadoobee who didn't dislike her before, and really destroyed her public vision with a lot of people within the public eye. Before we get into diagnosing her response, I would like to offer some context and some nuance, because this is some nuance that I guess I haven't seen given in online memes. I haven't watched any videos on the topic, but so maybe it has been given by others. But I think it's a nuance that needs to be given because it is important to the situation. Artists, part of being an artist, part of being a public figure is dealing with your public perception, which we'll talk about how she did a terrible job of that. But it's dealing with your public perception, and you have to deal with critics because the more eyes you get upon you, the more critics you get. I think especially in the artist world, artists who make more garnered music for a specific demographic, like in the case of female singers, most predominantly female pop singers who make feminine music, I think they probably get the worst end of this, where their music just gets torn into shreds because oftentimes it has nothing to do with the quality of the music. Rather, it's so different and unique and abstract from the music that these people grew up on and garnered a liking to by listening to it at an early age and getting that sort of youthful joy to the music. And then the only thing that really reminds them of that joy is music that reminds them of that music, or it's just that music itself. And so anything other than that just feels alien, and they see kind of these people liking this music, and it's kind of like, well, I don't like it, so I have to substantiate why it's bad. And so there's all these like little nitpicks that happen. This very often happens where critiques, and this is just, I guess, a flaw of human judgment, and it probably will happen to me at some point, although I'm hoping it doesn't, where critiques stem from a lack of favorability within a certain type of music or a type of art rather than the actual quality of the piece itself. And what we'll see often, one of the main critiques that people aim towards, especially again at people that make music for females, especially female singers, the most like common, I'd say, critique, other than it being like bland or whatever, is that these artists can't sing. And what'll often happen, because this will go around memes and stuff, is they'll take live clips of these singers not singing the best live. Sometimes it's a moment of them being pitchy, or they're out of breath because they've been running around dancing and performing or whatever, and it just doesn't sound that great. And so they use these clips to say these artists can't sing. Now, it should also be said, there is some truth to it, just to give some more nuance. Not in the sense that they can't sing, but in the sense that live performances favor belting and favor like operatic voices, belting. It favors big voices. Pop music favors straight voices. It favors voices that are made to be able to sing along well to. And the way that pop music tends to be made, unless you have some sort of pop ballad, is you don't really have belting moments in pop. It's sort of, you have a memorable part. You have a memorable part of the song, memorable hook, and then a very memorable chorus. And these are sort of garnered off of, I guess, the easiness of the song and how it, sort of peaks and goes back and peaks and goes back. That tends to be sort of the pop formula. And it's sort of this repetition and how easy it is to go along without it's how easy it is to digest, I guess. It's sort of how pop music tends to be made. And so it really garners itself to straight singing, and straight singing goes well with pop music because it's easy to sing along to. And so if you look at like actual recordings of these artists singing, like a good example, especially when these artists are given the chance at belting, a great example is the Taylor Swift. If you look at the recordings of her singing Don't Blame Me off of Reputation, and she's one that probably gets told that she can't sing. It probably gets that biggest criticism. Second would probably be, I guess, Olivia Rodrigo, and then Sabrina Carpenter. Again, both of those are obviously not true. You can find videos of Sabrina Carpenter singing very well, doing great belts. Olivia Rodrigo, you just have to listen to her music to know that she can sing really well. It's like, especially her ballads, it's very obvious that she is an amazing singer, even if she does have a lot of clips of her not singing the best live. This is something that sort of happens, and it can follow your career, and it's not something you want to follow your career. So it's understandable, even if it is a meme, for Baebadoobee to be maybe upset or concerned with having that label articulated at her that she can't sing, even if it is obviously ironic. And so usually the best way to combat this is to kind of have like a counter PR team move, kind of have like you want to kind of have like your team, or because a lot of teams have their own fan pages that they run for their artist, or have your fans somehow get your fans to do this, to run kind of a countercultural movement of actually saying this artist can't sing, posting your best clips of you singing, posting maybe you record like acoustic covers, or you show how good the vocal is in the studio session and then showing how it fits into the mix. Stuff like this is sort of the way to combat that label. The way to combat this label is not to, I guess, go on live on your TikTok and then complain in the way Baebadoobee did, as it's just going to garner more eyes and maybe make it seem like she actually does believe the fact that she can't sing, since she is so obviously affected by it. What you can never do as an artist is make one video, not just one video, but 2 videos of you essentially crashing out over the accusation. This is just not the move to make. And so we're going to be going over Baebadoobee's response. I'm going to be sort of I'll play the clips and I'll respond to them. That way I'm sort of breaking down each point where she sort of just messes up and how it creates the clear negative perception around her that clearly is sort of the consistent response to her videos. I'm going to be breaking down what she does wrong, not to pile on to her, because I really do like her. I hope this all dwindles over and just doesn't follow her for the rest of her career. Again, I like her music. I like a lot of related artists. I like that style of music. So I really hope this doesn't follow her career, and this isn't to add on to her. That's why I do kind of add the nuance, because it's kind of understandable to some extent. Just artists do go through some stuff with, it can be hard to have so many people critiquing you at once. So I understand, I guess, the frustration. But at the end of the day, your job is to create and craft your public image, and this is not how you do it. And so I'm going to be breaking down what she does wrong and how she creates such a negative perception around her in her 2 response videos.
I've seen so many comments about this, but I've never seen the actual videos. But
so 3 seconds off the bat, and what she's saying really doesn't make any sense. She's saying she's seen the comments referencing a video, but she hasn't seen the video. How does she know there's a video if she hasn't seen it? I don't like that's not, the explanation there is kind of lost.
The fucking men commenting, artists who can sing vs who can't.
So she starts off by singling out men, automatically putting all men kind of at the defensive, because she's accusing them of something, and so they're all kind of like, what, me? I'm a man, what you're talking about me? So men make up such like a large part of the population. This is not something you want to do, is start off by singling out a group of people and sort of like attacking them. This is not, and putting them on the defensive. This is not the way you want to respond to a situation that you want to change how it's handled, or to craft your public image, because you're making it sound like you might have some disdain for this group of people. Not only this, but she also follows up talking about like men. She adds a profanity before it, giving that level, like adding on to the extremity of her frustration, and sort of like the perceived disdain that she has for this group of people. Really just not a good way to start off the video.
Like, just tell me you don't get no girls.
When you thought it couldn't be bad enough, she somehow makes things even worse. Hardly even 10 seconds in, and she is personally berating and attacking anyone who has participated in a meme. I haven't participated in a meme, but it's off-putting even to me, because its nature itself is off-putting, because it feels like you're being targeted. Because for one, she is continuing to put large portions of viewers on the defensive and making them feel attacked. And for second, she is making a clear assumption where it is lacking evidence or relevance to the situation. It makes her seem upset and hateful. Like she is like just using this as an excuse to kind of lash out on a group, rather than really responding to something kind of relevant to the context of the situation in the first place. What is the relation between someone commenting a meme under your post for the funnies to someone not being able to get girls? What is the relation here? It doesn't really make any sense.
Just tell me, like, your mother didn't love you. Just like, you might as well just say it.
This is a really personal attack and kind of a low blow, because for some people like personally affected by actually like having a terrible relationship with their mother, it's really not their fault. This is just like a weird thing to bring up. It's like a rich person going up and being like, ha, you're poor. No one's going to like that person if they do that. they're going to be like, oh, this person hates poor people. This person hates people disenfranchised by situations and circumstances that they can't control. No one likes that person. That's not a likable trait to give yourself. And she just like why, what thought came to her mind where she thought that was an okay move or okay thing to say? Maybe she was just frustrated, and so she wasn't thinking correctly, and that happens. That's why you don't speak while frustrated. We'll get into that later. But it's like, that's not something you ever say. You don't attack someone if you're trying to be a likable person, which is your job as an artist, unless you want to be the type of artist that's kind of relevant by being hated, which there are that kind of artists, and that doesn't seem to be Baebadoobee's branding at all. Unless you're being that type of artist, your job is to make yourself liked. This is not the type of thing you want to do to make yourself liked. You're making yourself seem unrelatable. You're making yourself seem disdainful and hateful too. It's just not a good move.
It's obvious. It's plain. I've stalked your fucking profiles.
Stalking someone's profile seems like a very invasive procedure, especially over a meme. And it also seems like a move to be made only if you're really bothered by the meme, which isn't the best look given that it's a meme. If the meme really bothered her, and that's a fair thing to happen. Let me say, that's a fair thing to happen. Even if a joke's being made fun of you, even if it's a joke, if it's continued and it's incessant, it can just become annoying, and it can come across, even if it's made as a joke, it can still be hurtful to that person. So it can be fair to, I guess, be bothered by that. But anytime someone's like teasing you, the move is never to kind of show how much you're upset by it. That's never the move, because you're getting that reaction that person's desiring, and it's going to make them keep doing it more, because that reaction is funny, because that reaction makes them laugh. And so you don't ever feed into it like this. This is not the move you ever want to do in that kind of situation. The proper move is to own it, or just say like, hey, the meme's getting boring or annoying, or yeah, just like ignore it because the meme was fading away in the first place. That's the problem, is how she's responding to this. It's just totally awful. The other problem is that it wasn't teasing. Again, it was an ironic meme with complimentary undertones. The whole point of the meme is the fact that Baebadoobee can clearly sing. No one that actually viewed the videos looked at them and were like, oh, wow, you know what? Baebadoobee can't sing. An NBA YoungBoy is actually so much better of a singer. That's not like anyone's takeaway actually from watching those videos. But she says she hasn't seen the videos. So it's possible that she wouldn't know that the joke was ironic, and she's just seeing comments saying that she can't sing. And so she's clearly bothered by that, and maybe that's affecting her, or she's not in a state where she can really take that criticism, and it's kind of personally bothering her and causing her frustration. So maybe that's a thing. But going to the extent of looking at someone's profile, which I guess the reality is that it is an ironic joke. It's just a terrible look. And it isn't even too good of a look in the first place, even if it was an ironic joke and was like an actual criticism. You're like an artist of public figure, of public status, with a following. That's not the kind of like behavior that you'd want to encourage, or you want to have the perception that you're encouraging. Nor is it something that you want to, I guess, tell your fans to do, given the fact that public groups of people, if sort of led a certain way, and sometimes it's not your fault as the artist, but can, do all sorts of stuff with looking at someone's profile and finding all sorts of private information. So you really want to avoid having that kind of, being associated with that kind of behavior, even though I don't think that's what she was doing here. She was just looking at their profile because she was kind of upset at what they're saying and trying to look at, I guess, what the person looked like or their social status. I don't know, maybe to kind of like help how she was hurt, how her ego was hurt. I don't know exactly what she was trying to feed off of it, but that's just not a good thing to ever admit. You're saying that you're hurt, you're showing that it hurt you and that you received pain from what was a meme. Just not a good look.
And you're
okay, we're about 20 seconds into the Baebadoobee story video, and this is my 6th time stopping it. How do you even manage to say something that makes you unlikable at a rate of once every 3 1/3 second? How do you even do that? Like, that's so impressive. Your average sentence takes longer than 3 1/3 seconds. How do you say something wrong, and you say a new thing that's bad for a PR move every 3.5 seconds or 3 1/3 seconds. That's just terrible. How do you do that? She cuts out here. If you didn't hear it, she says, she starts calling the people that say artists who can't sing, she starts calling them ugly. So she singles out people again and attacks again. Everyone who comments artists who can't sing versus artists who can't sing, they're ugly because she checked and verified that they were. And the reason that they're commenting it, I'm assuming by the relevance of her bringing up, is that I guess they're upset and jealous, so they're lashing out at her. Like, the correlation's not really there. It doesn't make a ton of sense. But I guess that's what she's trying to say. Really a weird thing to bring up. Again, it just sounds like she's just attacking group people. She starts it off by saying the men commenting. She starts off by attacking men, then says that like the men commenting are ugly and don't have good relationships with their mothers and can't get with women. She's like continuing down this path of singling out a group, a large group, and attacking them, and then attacking them again, and attacking them again, giving off this perception that she just hates the group of people in the first place, and again, making her sound like a hateful, unlikable person. Just not a good look to give yourself.
Does it hurt me? Not really.
I mean, clearly, you stalked people's profiles who simply commented on your massive profile, which is full of all different kinds of comments. So clearly it hurt you if you were willing to look at their profiles and look into what they looked like. Clearly it hurt you. Almost anytime someone prefaces something with, does it hurt me? Does it bother me? And then they like say like, no. The answer is yes, usually, because they're assuming you'll pick up on the fact that they're hurt or bothered, and they don't want it to come across that they are, even though they know that they are, because it's a bad look, or it makes them look worse if they show sort of a self-interest in their response. So almost anytime someone brings that up, they actually are bothered by it in some way. And this is one of those situations. She is clearly bothered by it. She decided to not only look at people's like profiles who commented on her page, but she also decided to, I'm going to go on my TikTok story and make a response to comments that are being made on my profile. She is clearly so bothered by it. This like whole video wouldn't exist in the first place if she wasn't bothered by it. Obviously she is.
I know men are mad at me because I probably get more girls than them.
Who said men were mad at her? They just commented on a viral meme under her post. Where does them being mad come into equation? Everyone who comments artists who can't sing hates her and is mad? How do they know that she gets more women than them? They're mad because they get less women than Baebadoobee? Like, there's no correlation that makes sense here. It's a weird thing to bring up. And anytime you're like being braggadocious at a moment of outrage, it's just not a good look. You're making yourself seem kind of like insecure, and you're kind of covering up your insecurity with sort of like vainous things by bringing up like, well, I have more women than you. You're bringing up You're bringing up vainous things to kind of cover up for your ego as sort of a personal attack on someone. It's just not a good look. It's not a good look when someone's like, well, I have more money than you. I have more women than you. It's just not a good look. It's not a way to make people like you. It's just not a good look at all.
Who gives a fuck?
You do! You do, Baebadoobee. You decided to look through all of your comments and find someone's upset you, look at their profiles, look at how they look like, make a mental document of how they look like, decide to go on TikTok story, record videos, multiple of them, of you ranting over comments on your story. You care! You care.
Okay, artists you can sing, VS you can't. I still got more money than you.
I mean, what did I just say? Again, bragging while being butthurt. It's just not a good look. This is such an unlikable thing to do. Never brag while being butthurt. This is just not something that you do ever. It makes it sound like she lost a fight, kind of, or an argument, even though she isn't arguing with anyone. She controls the conversation. This is her story. She doesn't have to say any of this. There's no like ego that she's like was hurt by someone, that she's retaliating against this person. She controls the conversation. It's her story, but it makes it sound like she's losing a conversation, and it's sort of bringing out this last resort of these vainous things and to sort of make a personal attack against someone. And it's kind of like, who are you personally attacking? You're personally attacking people making comments under your story that they didn't even know the comments bothered you in the first place. Maybe they weren't even trying to bother you. Maybe if they knew it would upset you, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. But you see the comments and you're arguing and berating them, and not just berating them specifically, you're choosing men just like as sort of a pejorative group of people to attack. I don't understand sort of I don't understand where, or not just men, but like men commenting. I don't understand why you would ever do this. This is just such a bad move.
And you're still a man.
Somehow she makes one of the worst responses I've ever seen that's at like an inconceivable level of terrible. She somehow makes it to like an unimaginable new level of terrible. Like, how do you, what? It's because you're a man? Or you're still a man? Like, you're at fault, or there's something wrong with you for being a man? Again, we started off with like a situation you're being born into with like having a bad mother, not something you make fun of. You go to another level with single a demographic of people, men, something that has no relevance to the conversation at hand. It's not like you're like talking about something politics where you're talking about like, well, I don't like Republicans or Democrats' views on this issue. That has relevance to the discussion because the group Republican, the group Democrat has some relevance to what's happening here. And I do like, there are differences, you know, or whatever. There are distinguishable characteristics of men, but the relevance between the distinguishable characteristics of men has not been established to the topic at hand or to the behavior that she is describing. She is rather kind of just bringing up without any relevance, making it sound like less she's diagnosing the issue that she's describing, and more so she is taking this response video to sort of unearth a hatred for a group, a large group at that she has. You never want to single out a group like this without sort of any relevance established or obvious relevance to the topic at hand, because just that, it makes you sound like you're just unleveling hatred you have for a group rather than actually talking or addressing this situation at hand in the first place. This is just like a terrible, 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 terrible look. Don't ever do this. Never. This is a terrible look. Unless you don't care about people liking you, you don't care about your public perception, which Baebadoobee clearly does because she was bothered enough by people not saying she can't sing in the first place to make this video. Unless you don't care about your public perception, don't ever do this, okay? This is just not the move.
Also, I just haven't seen any of those videos. Like, I've seen the comments, but I'm just not on that side of TikTok.
Again, I'm confused as to how she knows the meme comes from a video if she hasn't seen them. And it's weird that she keeps bringing it up twice. She's brought it up twice now. It seems like she's kind of like trying to fight off an accusation, presumpting that the accusation exists. I don't really like this is just a weird thing, but I guess we'll go on to the next thing.
And I feel like the people who care about my art and listen to my music aren't like weird incel men that like have no friends.
Firstly, I don't even think she knows her own fan base that well, given this comment. There's like a whole meme online about like dudes who listen to Baebadoobee, dudes who listen to Claro. And the whole meme is kind of like dudes who are lonely and have trouble with women will listen to these kind of artists that women love, sort of as a manipulation tactic. And they tend to be terrible people. This is like kind of a very widespread meme. And I guess the meme exists because of a stereotype that does exist. There's most certainly a group of men who are lonely men who can't get with women, or incel, if she wants to use that term, who listen to her music. That definitely is a group of men that exists. So firstly, I just don't think she knows her fans that well if she doesn't think those people exist. Secondly, she is describing everyone to have ever commented a meme on her post as a weird incel. Again, these are like hateful, derogatory terms that are being kind of labeled upon a wide group of people without any relevance being established to how those things are inherently connected. Rather, again, it just makes it sound like she's just like attacking a group of people to attack them, because there really has been no relevance established, no connection established to this pattern of behavior or life experience happening to someone and commenting under her page. There is no connection established here. It doesn't make her look like a likable person. It doesn't make it look like she's defending herself. It makes it look like she's kind of crashing out an anchor and kind of like attacking people. Just doesn't make her likable at all, which is what she should be trying to do as an artist. If she's trying to brand herself, generally is what you want to do. Just not a great way at doing that here. Okay, so then she posted a second video. Hopefully this one's better. A second video, an opportunity to walk back things you said that you shouldn't have said in the heat of the moment. You're more calm now. It's after sort of maybe a moment of frustration. You can clarify maybe you were frustrated. You can clarify your actual position. You can explain yourself better. You can explain your context where you didn't before. You can kind of correct yourself a bit and kind of pick yourself back up from where you messed up before. Second video is, I guess, the right move. I guess. The issue is second videos usually aren't as viewed as the first video, just because that's the more breakout headline, and then the response usually doesn't gain enough traction. But she does have opportunity here to kind of correct her wrongs and maybe add that nuance I added earlier and explain that nuance sort of to explain her position more and explain her frustration, which could explain away maybe her mistakes if she is earnest about them.
I'm gonna try to explain this as clearly as possible in the maturest way possible, in hopes that you guys understand, even though you probably won't.
Any hope here that B might have corrected her public stance or public perception, or corrected the damage or try to fix the damage to her perception that she caused is just eroded now. She begins the video by not correcting herself or addressing where she messed up. Rather, she explains that everyone who was off-put by her first response was in the wrong. Not that she might have miscommunicated, which is often just a thing that happens. You're not trying to communicate wrong and you just happen to miscommunicate and someone perceives something a different way. Not maybe explaining the fact that, well, maybe I said this way, I should have said it this way, this is what I meant. She starts it off by saying, no, it's not that I messed up, or it's not that there was just a miscommunication given context I assumed you knew and you didn't know. No, you're at fault here. You're dumb. You won't understand the context because I guess you're like stupid. You can't comprehend it. Like, this is just not a great way to word it. Even if she's trying to say you won't understand it because of you have a different experience, which is, we'll get into that. That's still not something you should say. This is just not the way to even word that in the first place. It wasn't that she, she's not saying she messed up in the heat of the moment again. It's that you didn't get it. You didn't get it. It's an error on your intelligence. So she has to explain it so clearly so you can understand. And she's just suggesting that even if she does, you're just too stupid to even understand it. Just not where is her PR person? How do you make the video, and then you make another video? How does this happen? Where is her PR person? Does she have one? What is happening here?
I'm gonna use school as an example. I don't know why, but okay. So you're at school, and there's this one dude that just keeps prodding you with a stick and is saying a joke, and it's funny. I'm like, okay, fair enough, funny. And then it happens a couple more times, and he's prodding you, and I'm like, okay, this is getting kind of annoying, but it's still funny. It's still funny. And then it gets to a point where it literally just involves your entire life because it's constantly being shoved into your face. You're like, dude, it was funny, but now it's pissing me off. This is rude. This is rude. It's hurting my feelings.
Okay, for once here, I'm not totally against her response here. She is sort of rationally explaining the context of her situation, what's exactly what she should be doing here, to sort of make you understand her frustration, understand how something that seems not much of a mean thing to you, you're not purposely trying to be mean, can come across as mean. This is definitely a good move to make. There's a bit of a problem here, though. Her analogy assumes that it is the same people making the same joke over and over again. Rather, it's kind of just waves of people, and the problem is also, you kind of have to just ignore it if you are being teased incessantly. Showing that you're upset over it usually doesn't end well, but that would be more of an issue if, there was a large attempt to tease, which isn't really the case here. Again, ignoring it would probably be the best move. But just saying something if she wants to say something, saying something okay, the meme was funny, but now it's kind of fell off, it's not funny anymore, would be a way better way. You don't want to kind of show that you're upset at it if you think you're genuinely being teased. Just not the move here. But I still do I think she's going in a positive direction here. I do like that she's kind of trying to explain her situation or the context of her frustration. I do kind of like the direction that she's going here. This is a good direction to take it. a good direction to take the hole that she's kind of dug herself in here.
But the one thing that I failed to kind of put across in that video.
And here I really like her acknowledgement of a communication error. She is acknowledging fault. Anytime you're making a response to criticism like this, showing some much needed examples of humility, of self-accountability to the public, and acknowledging, fault, it makes your actions easier to forgive for many. It makes you seem like a more genuine person rather than someone kind of intentionally trying to be hateful. It just makes it seem like, okay, you messed up, I mess up too. I can forgive you messing up. So this is definitely always the move you want to take.
Despite me saying that I didn't really care about those videos.
And never mind. She was going in the direction of, oh, well, it's just a communication error. And, that happens. Sorry about that. No, it's our fault again. This isn't that big of a go-off moment because she did make it clear in the first video that she didn't see the videos. And she was responding to the comments. She wasn't responding to the videos with laser shooting off NBA YoungBoy's eyes. But she is still showing frustration where she shouldn't be, and she is still kind of like attacking the upset person's intelligence, creating more, levying even more on top of what already existed, the criticism of that person's personality, character, who they are just born as, and the situation they're born as, just levying even more onto people who are just participating in a meme. If you want them to understand your position, attacking them and putting them on a defensive posture, just not the right move. And she somehow did it and did it again and did it again and did it again. Made a new video, had a chance to not do it, and then did it again. It's not that big of a deal because, she is right here, but it's just like not a great move.
It was the comments and it was the constant spamming. Was that it shed light to a load of other things in my life that have really, truly affected my mental health. When you get incels rushing to your comment section.
I really do like Bae, and I really wish she handled this better because she puts out so much great music. I respect her artistry. I really like the genre she's contributing to. I love, kind of lo-fi pop, indie pop, and that kind of like folk, the folk character that's being brought into pop with artists like her. In some ways, although Claire more has like jazz elements, I'd say. Clairo, although folk, she does have some with sling. Obviously, Folklore by Taylor Swift is kind of a big example too. I like Phoebe Bridgers a lot. A lot of these artists, inspired by people like Elliott Smith. So I do like that type of music, and I like her music. One of my favorite songs of all time is Glue Song, the version with Clairo specifically. I really do like Baebadoobee. I wish she handled this better. This is just so bad. What she's saying here is anyone who makes fun of her, or in reality, anyone who references a meme, if we're going to be honest about the situation, anyone that references a meme in her comment section is an unlovable, lonely, bitter man who everyone hates and can't get with women. Being derogatory to your viewers certainly isn't the best way to get them to sympathize with you, to agree with you. This is your second video. You messed up the first video. This is your chance to correct the person and get them on your side, especially the people that liked you in the first place, people that followed you in the first place, who liked your music and wanted to get along with you. They want to create that relation because it's true. It's true that a lot of that we have as listeners, we have relations with people we view it kind of like a parasocial relationship with people that we listen to music with, or music of, or people we see on TV. We believe, our mind perceives that these people are real people in our life because they have such a frequency in our brain, and we see them all the time, and we hear them all the time, and it's like a form of communication. And so we're being communicated with this person all the time, and we create relations with them. And so you have to, if you want to be a big artist, unless your branding is to have terrible public relations, which there are those artists, you have to make yourself likable and relatable. You cannot do this. You cannot do this. You cannot make someone who's trying to relate to you, you cannot attack them like this. This is not what you do. You can't do this. This is just such a terrible thing to do. You cannot do this. And you had the chance to walk it back. You had the chance to make yourself seem likable and understandable, because it sucks to be constantly criticized. I'm sure there are plenty of people that go through that. I'm sure they can relate to that. It sucks when you make a statement and you do it in the heat of the moment and you mess up and you say stuff you shouldn't have. And you have to sort of like, you can't walk it back because you said it publicly and it's always there. It sucks. People can sympathize with that. If you go out there and you say, I messed up and it really sucks because I can't walk back what I said and I shouldn't have said what I said. People can relate to that because everyone, almost everyone in their life says something at some point that they regret saying and they can't walk it back and they just have to deal with the consequences. And it sucks to deal with that. And so this is a very relatable moment. If she shows some humility here, if she actually create some relatability. But she doesn't do that. She does the opposite. She says, you can't relate to me. You can't get with women. You're ugly. You're an incel. Just like, what are you doing? Like, this is not what you do. Like, what are you doing? This is such a stupid thing to say. Why are you saying this? And it actually like genuinely makes me upset because I really want her to have a prosperous, successful career. And this is just like such a stupid thing to say. And I would welcome her on my channel if she ever wanted to do an interview. I would love to do an interview with her. I respect her music. I like the direction she takes music in and how she inspires people. So it bothers me so much that she would say, come out here, and this is the position that she would take. She has a chance to kind of at least try to erode her mistakes, and she doesn't. And it's not like her branding is like a modern Kanye's branding, where his branding is to just say a bunch of stuff and then have people search your name and then listen to your new album because they're like, oh, this guy says crazy stuff. Let me listen to his new album. It's not like you're early Katy Perry and your branding is to say outrageous stuff at the time, like you kissed a girl and you liked it, and you have people listen to your music because they talk about it and then they listen to your music. This isn't your branding. Your branding is this kind of like sort of mellow, like indie girl. That's your branding. You're a pop girl, indie pop girl. That's your branding. Okay? Your branding is not, oh, I just hate everyone and I'm so mean and evil. Your music is purposely kind of sweet. It is soft. It is not angsty in nature. You're not a punk rock band. You are not like one of these groups of people that their genre, their fan base is made off of like severe hatred, where you're allowed to sort of have this kind of in some way terrible branding or terrible personality to your branding. That's not your branding. That's not the lane you fall in. Your lane is to be a likable person. What are you doing? It's so bad.
And you get a flood of comments of the same thing. A load of other comments start to surface. Like if you're on the internet and you start going viral, a lot of people will be onto your shit naturally, and it's something that I have struggled with and have tried to come to terms with. That's just the inevitability of being like around.
Now, this is certainly true. The more eyes you have on you, the more critics you have, and it can be difficult to deal with that, I'm sure. Especially, again, as a female pop artist in the modern era, as those, who've fallen into love with older music or fallen in love with like specific group artistry that appeals more to them and relates more to them, like hip hop, country music, rock music. As one of those groups of people, you often hear this constant criticism from them, and sometimes criticism, it can be warranted. That is kind of my job in some way on this channel, is to criticize. It's also to compliment. It's to be honest and earnest. And you do get unfair criticism that's sort of related to people, again, just not being the audience for your music, rather than actually a criticism on the quality of your product. And so it does happen. It sucks. It sucks to look online and you see your comments and you're just trying to, maybe you're just trying to engage with your fans and you're reading your comments, or you need some compliments. You need some help for your self-perception, because maybe it's damaged in some way. Maybe you're dealing with something in your private life that's really hard on you. And certainly having a bunch of eyes on you that are constantly criticizing everything you do, it's not a good contribution to that. Certainly you can sympathize with that. Certainly it's hard to be an artist, maybe harder in ways that you wouldn't imagine. Not even just like going into studios and recording stuff, but going out of the studio. Out of the studio might be even harder than being in the studio. I'm not a premiere artist, so I can't say from personal experience, but I would have to imagine that probably is just as hard, if not an even harder part of the job, is having to live this completely different life than the average person, having constant eyes on you. And she's right. Anytime there's eyes on you, they bring haters. The more people you have watching your stuff, the more people you have that won't like it. So, yes, I'm sure that's difficult. I'm sure that's terrible, specifically as someone who, is a public artist or a public figure. Now, the way she goes about this isn't exactly the way you want to say it, because in some ways she's kind of like minimizing the experience of other people, even though I don't think she's exactly doing it here intentionally, because what you don't want to do is make it sound like you're criticizing more than the everyday person, even though it probably is true, because you're trying to create relatability. What you should say is, like, you should point out like criticism in their life, to be like, how it feels to be criticized. I'm sure you've all gone through that. As an artist, I have to go through it all the time with so many eyes watching me. You're sort of saying the same thing, but you're reframing it in a certain way by making that relatability. You're connecting it with an experience of theirs, and you're talking about the level of it. But when you just kind of just say, oh, well, when you're an artist, a big artist, you deal with criticism. You're kind of like, you're not intentionally doing it, but you are kind of discrediting the experiences of others. And that's not what you want to do if you're going to create relatability. You never want to discredit the experiences of others. You want to play on the experiences of others. When you make music, when you write lyrics and you try to make them relatable, you don't just talk about your specific life. You're not like, well, I drove on Penny Street and went to the coffee shop called Joe's Coffee, and then I saw a brown-haired girl with blue eyes named Aubrey, and then I talked to Aubrey, and then we went to I got her number, I asked for her number, and she gave me her number, and her phone number was 855-762-2247. And then I called her, and then we went on a date, and we went to the movies, and we sat on row C18. You don't do that. You try to relate to the listener. You're like, coffee shop. You start talking about coffee shops, auburn hair, hands locked, love in the air, or something. I don't know. I just came up with that off the dome. But something like that, something relatable it takes an experience that can be related to an artist, or not to the listener, sorry. Your job as an artist is to be relatable, not to make yourself seem different, I guess. And so I don't think she's intentionally doing that, but that is what she's doing here, and you never want to do that. That's not what you want to do. Again, nobody wants their experience to feel discredited. It can give off the perception that she's saying, well, you want to understand it. I have it way worse than you. Especially given the context of her previous statements on this very topic and sort of the hateful tone and usage of language that she has used prior. That's sort of the perception that it can give off. Certainly, I don't think that was an intention of hers by bringing it up here. This is just a clear example of even how something that was not intentionally bad can bring bad results for you in the public eye. This is why wording in public relations is such an important thing, and it's such a hard thing to do properly, because it's so easy to mess up words. Speaking perfectly is it's just like an impossible task. So this is why you have teams that go by and tell you what to say, and you talk about and you communicate what to say, unless your artistry, your branding is based off of authenticity, like someone like Ye, which it doesn't seem like that's exactly the way that her career has been built up in at least in the same way. So, this is just like not the thing you want to do. This is an example of how you can mess up without doing anything morally bad or something that goes unnoticed that can be bad.
And I guess my initial reaction is just to take the piss. I'm just like, I get more girls than you. Do you know what I mean? Like,
so your immediate response to someone criticizing you is to, or not even criticizing at this point, just commenting on your page, but understanding the perception. Her perception is the criticism. Your immediate response is to unlevy. This is like what's on your heart. This is like your immediate thought. You don't want to admit that kind of thought that people are saying is a bad thing to say about someone, and they're saying this is like unearthed a hatred you have for a group of people. You don't want to say that's your immediate thought, because then it's just making it sound like, oh, you have a hatred for this group of people? That's the allegation. Oh, well, when I get upset, this is what I think about. It's making it sound like this is just a thought of yours that you constantly have. This is a reality of your viewpoint, a reality of your values. That's not, if you think this is a problematic statement, not exactly the thing you want to say here. She's correct in addressing one of the things. She should point out specific things that she said that upset people and address them. She's correct in doing that. That is the proper thing to do. This is not the way to do it.
It was a joke. It's not that deep.
Guys, it's just a joke. Don't get upset, guys. It's just a joke. Don't get upset. But you decide to post a TikTok story randomly berating people over a joke in your comments. Just take the joke. It's not that deep. Maybe if you took your own advice, we wouldn't be at the point of having this video and having to make a response video in the first place. Maybe you should take your own advice.
The one thing that is deep is the comments that resurface and the comments that I started getting recently since I've been going more viral on this app from this same incel culture.
I don't understand the angle here. Where is the presumption coming from that people who comment artists who can't sing come from incel culture? Where is the connection? It hasn't been established. What is being said here? I don't get it.
That this meme comes from, okay? And I'm sorry if it feels like I'm grouping like individuals, but yes, it's mostly men. Like,
I like this part of the video because it looks like she's trying to cast a deadly laser on all the men watching.
Like, nah, like, no, that's not cool. That makes me feel like shit. And like, when I get a flood of these comments from this one like silly meme video,
yeah, that's disgusting. It's terrible that she has to deal with comments like that and has to read through those. It would be great if we lived in a world where that didn't exist. It's kind of a reality of our world. It does exist. It's not okay, but that happens regardless of if NBA YoungBoy can sing better than her or not.
that I have been commenting on. Okay, this is another thing. This is what's so funny to me, is if you go through this, like, the artists who can't sing, who can sing videos, I have commented on them. And this is the thing, like, I feel like my comments just get hidden, but you can go and check. I have commented being like, this is funny. Like, this is low-key funny to me.
And the cat is out the bag. In the original video, she says, well, I haven't even seen the videos. Well, I just see the comments. And you're like, well, how does she know there's videos if you haven't seen them? I haven't. And she says it twice. She's like, well, I haven't even seen the videos. And then she starts off this video. She's like, I'm not even talking about the video. I'm talking about the comments. And I think the reason she does that is because she has seen the videos and she knows how ironic the meme is and how silly it is. And if she made it sound like she has seen the videos and she's responding to the videos, she would look so stupid. She'll look so stupid because it's an ironic meme of NBA YoungBoy's laser shooting out of his eyeballs and opera voice coming on. Like, it's such a stupid thing to be upset about, and it makes you look dumb. It makes you lose aura, as some people have said. And so she's trying to presume the accusation that she's getting upset over the video by saying, well, I haven't even seen the video. She lies about the fact that she's seen the videos and she tries to cover her butt by saying she hasn't seen them to make it sound like she's just getting upset over comments and sort of create a more favorable frame for her upsetness. She's trying to create a more favorable frame by presumpting the issue or presumpting someone's takeaway from her response. And she messes up here because she reveals the fact that she was lying, and it makes her seem so untrustworthy. It makes her just seem like, and it makes the situation kind of worse because she's presuming responses to her response to the meme, and she's perceiving that, but she somehow didn't think about all the terrible things she said, and not in that video, and then this video again. It makes her also an unreliable character, an unreliable witness to her own story. It just makes her unreliable in general. Generally, it's usually just a bad idea. It doesn't go well when you try and cover your butt presumptively by lying about the situation and trying to lie over details. You almost always end up slipping up or end up covering yourself in a way that ends up being revealed through some evidence to obviously not be true, and then obviously crafts your whole story, your whole reference of your personal view of what happened to yourself, and makes it all just unreliable. You just don't do that. This happens all the time in the legal world, and it can happen in the artist world too, in the PR world too. I mean, she kind of just fumbled the ball really bad here.
It was just like this spamming, dude, and just like everyone from that community coming to my account and saying so much more weird as shit.
Then you should have said that. Well, you really should have said nothing. But you should have said, I've seen the meme and it's funny and it's becoming boring and less entertaining if you were to say something. Instead, you lied. You made yourself look untrustworthy. This is a wise lesson in why you don't presumptively cover your tracks. It almost always tends to bite your back. Don't do it.
And I'm sorry if I didn't like put that across in my rant video. But like also, okay, like I'm sorry if that affected you.
Finally, we get an apology. I'm so happy we got an apology. Finally, 3.5 minutes in, but we finally got it. This should have been at the beginning of the video because most people aren't going to watch 3.5 minutes in. But we did finally get it, so it's good that we're at least getting it at all. So good move by her.
I'm sorry if saying I got more girls than you affected you.
How is she so bad at this? This is such a backhanded apology. She's using an apology as an excuse to once again insult people. You can see it in her look away from the camera. You can hear it in her tone. The implication is that if you're offended by that, then surely the accusation is true and it's serviceable comment for her to have made in the first place as some explanation for you commenting on her page or whatever.
But respectfully, I don't think that's sexism. And you're still a man. Because as a woman in the 21st century, I feel like I've experienced a lot of sexism, especially in the music industry. And I know what it feels like.
Again, she is diminishing others' experiences. Last time, it was probably unintentional with her talking about, her unique hate she receives as an artist or as a public figure. This is most definitely intentional. You can't complain about her implying that men are at fault because they're men because they're not women. And you haven't experienced sexism like she has. This is just like, it does nothing to help her. It doesn't make her more relatable. It doesn't make her more likable. It doesn't make her seem less hateful. It just makes everything worse. It makes her seem more bitter, more out of touch, more out of hateful to the groups that are saying that she hates them. Makes her seem like she's hating men more. It's just, it helps nothing. Why is she trying to make herself seem less relatable? Why is she trying to discount the experiences of others? She doesn't know what they've gone through. She is presuming that she's gone through worse, and it just makes her seem less relatable. She's not saying, well, you've gone through this. I've gone through this. It's bad in general. She's saying, well, you don't even know what it's like. You don't know what it's like to be me. How am I supposed to relate to that? How am I supposed to look at that and be like, you're right, I don't know what it's like to be you. How am I supposed to respond to that? That doesn't make sense. This is such a bad move to make. Do not discount. Anytime you're making a response video, do not discount the experiences of others if you're trying to make them sincerely, understand your position. If you want them to understand your position, make them relate to you. If you want them to understand your position, point at experiences in their life that they can think about and they can be like, oh, that sucked. Wow, that must be terrible for you. Instead, you're like, well, you wouldn't even know what it's like. How am I supposed to understand where you're coming from if you're saying I can't understand where you're coming from? How am I supposed to relate to you and understand what you're going through? How am I supposed to, forgive you? And I do personally, but as a Christian, I do. But how am I supposed to, as the average person, what's supposed to compel me to do that if I can't even understand what you're going through? It doesn't make sense why you would ever do this. It doesn't make sense.
I've seen so much of it, and I think it's just one thing where it's just a meme and a joke and it's funny. And then it becomes another thing when it's like constantly like everywhere on your comments and on your social media. And then it becomes another thing when it's like you somehow have managed to attract this same group of people who are constantly sexualizing you and just being super, super disrespectful. It makes me uncomfortable. Like, all of that as a whole makes me uncomfortable.
She is right to not want this to follow her around her whole career. She shouldn't want her brand to be artists who can't sing versus artists who can sing. But again, this is not the way to do this. And she seems to be blaming the meme's popularity and traffic directly for the meme to be on her page, for also weird and gross comments on her page, when it could be just as likely where increased levels of traffic come to her page because of the meme in the first place, and increased levels of traffic also caused increased levels of discussing things that happen, byproduct of For You pages or other forms of social media pages recommendation systems and algorithms. It's just a weird thing to do to address. And it's like, if she wanted to address that, she should have addressed that, not the meme. It's a weird thing to do to address both, as there's sort of this connection that's not really being established and proven here. And it's sort of lumping in a wide margin of people with a very, very gross group of people. And it's just not a way to get those wide margins of people to really understand your frustration, because you're sort of attacking and lumping them in with a really terrible, disgusting group of people. Especially when maybe they're not even a terrible person. Maybe they've just gone through their own, everyone does bad things and goes through their own personal issues, and you go through bad things, Baebadoobee, and go through public issues and say things you shouldn't have, just like they do. I don't know. I don't know their situation. I don't know your situation. You're not helping me understand your situation by continually discrediting me and destroying any form or anyone watching, because I didn't participate in the meme. I've never commented anything under her post. You're not helping me understand your position by discrediting me or anyone watching or attacking groups of people. It's just not a great way. You're destroying any relatability you have. Again, how am I supposed to understand your position here?
And you cannot blame someone lashing out because they feel frustrated.
Yes, you can. What a stupid moral standard to have. Imagine someone was at trial for murder and the lawyer's defense was, Your Honor, my client, he was just really frustrated. Your Honor, he was just going through a lot. He had just bet a bunch on Bitcoin and his Bitcoin went down. So he went and he murdered a whole family on Christmas Eve. Like, what a stupid standard to have. No one actually believes this.
Like, I will take the piss if you take the piss out of me. Like, it's a joke.
It's just a joke. It's just a joke. Baebadoobee. Take your own advice next time. It was just a joke. It would have really helped you out. Okay, so that was a lot. It's hard to name any PR moves that were more unintentionally bad than this one. There was just so much unpacked here and so much said about things she did wrong, because there was just so many things. So I'm going to give you kind of the key takeaways of things she did wrong, just like 6 key takeaways. Number 1, she singled out a group to attack and diminish when a statement of demographics was unneeded. This makes it seem as if the conflict unearthed hatred that she had for a massive demographic of people without really a cohesive value that might be able to be politically rebuked. Again, it's not like it was like, well, I hate Republicans' views on tax policy, because that's where Democrats' views on healthcare, which obviously there's a relation to the party they fall in, and then the value that they have. And maybe you could talk about the differences in men and women, and then use that to talk about why at least this behavior. But she hasn't done that. Rather, it just seems like she is unearthing a hatred she has for a group through frustration of people's behavior. And by singling out a group and then attacking them, then levying on insults, it's really adding on to this perception that she hates that group of people. She really shouldn't have just singled out the group of people in the first place. It really was unnecessary. She could have just said, people in my comments are being mean. You have to be like, the effing men in my comments. Worst of all, you're a man. You don't have a good relationship with your mother. You can't get with women. You hate me because I get more women than you, and I'm still famous and rich. It's like, it's such a stupid thing to say. Do not single out a group of people like that without really relevance to the group of people and the action, without established or clear, that doesn't need to be established, like clear context doesn't need to be established relation between the group and behavior. It's really not a great PR move to single out the group in the first place. Number 2, she was bragging as a form of insult. This makes it sound as if her ego was hurt or harmed as she flaunted superficial achievements she has to try to build her ego back up by tearing others down. This is sort of like the classic caricature in academia and media of a bully. It's not a likable character. It's someone who has had their ego hurt in some way and is sort of like, attacking people for what they don't have and bringing on what they do have as a form of correcting that hurt ego. I mean, this is the classic archetype in literature of a bully. This is not something you want to do if you want to be a likable character at all. Number 3, she made a response in the first place to a joke. Sometimes no response is better than any response, even a good response. And this certainly wasn't a good response at all. But there really never should have been a video in the first place of her responding to artists who can't sing meme, especially since the meme was dying off in the first place. You got to learn to be patient. And you don't always respond to the most immediate things. Sometimes things do die out. And especially replying to a joke, it makes it seem as if she lacks humor, makes her less relatable, makes it seem as if she's not able to understand and participate within the humor. Number 4, she responded in frustration. You never make response in frustration if you can wait. Take time to rationalize situation, rationalize where you might be wrong, rationalize where they're wrong, understand the context of where it could be unintentional, where sometimes people have different values or different contexts of life. People are hurting you in ways they don't intend on, and maybe they don't even know they're hurting you, and you got to approach it with the maturity, approach it with the context of being unfrustrated, being emotionally intelligent, being intelligent, and being able to rationalize the situation. You don't respond in frustration, or else sort of the frustration will unravel unlikable parts of your character. And this is exactly what happened here, where it will unravel maybe thoughts you've had, or at least what seems like thoughts you've had of different groups of people, and it makes you seem bitter. People don't really like to listen to people that are frustrated usually. So this is just, you don't respond in frustration like she did here. You just don't do that. Number 5, she lied to cover herself and got caught. It's always morally bad, but it's almost always bad for outcome to lie presumptively to try and cover tracks of what you think what might put you in a worse frame of appearance to the context of the situation. It's almost always worse to do that, because some form of evidence or you slipping up yourself will end up unraveling yourself as an untrustworthy piece of information. And number 6, she minimized others' experiences rather than recognizing others' validity and using that as a form of helping them understand what's happening to her, rather than you're saying, well, what you've gone through is valid and true. She minimizes their life experiences. She cuts herself off from being relatable, and she makes herself sound pretentious and out of touch with really the average human experience. On one hand, she says, we have to recognize and respect her frustration. On the others, she says, oh, well, we can't respect your frustration with my video because you haven't gone through what I've gone through. Nobody wants to sympathize with that kind of behavior. Nobody can relate to that kind of behavior. This is clearly only focused upon herself and only herself, where she should be trying to sort of bridge the connection between her and the people she is trying to persuade. And so Baebadoobee, an artist I love and really respect, made a terrible error. It's an error. Errors happen. I hope it dwindles over. I hope it doesn't follow her career forever. I hope I don't contribute to that, most certainly, and I try to give her the nuance that she deserves and the context she deserves to understand we do make errors, and for public figures, a lot of their errors are recorded and kept on the internet forever, and it's a very hard thing to go through. But I hope this is a lesson in handling PR, because you don't do this. This is not how you handle it. Don't ever do what she did here. This is just not a good move. Anyways, that'll conclude the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is kind of a new form of content for me, so I hope it goes well. I hope it went well. I don't really know how it went. I guess I'll figure out when I edit the video. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want more content like this, let me know. Subscribe for more, because we have all. I'm gonna start making all sorts of types of content, I hope. So make sure to subscribe. But anyways, even if you don't want to, have a good day. God bless. Goodbye. Bye-bye.